I used to think the greatest pain in life was giving birth without my husband by my side. But no, I was wrong. The greatest pain is realizing the man who had been lying next to me for more than a decade had never actually belonged to me. It was a normal night. I had just finished feeding the youngest, put him in his crib, and took a quick nap. The two older children were sleeping with their heads resting on each other's laps, looking so cute and peaceful. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, like any other night, until the phone rang. I opened my eyes, blurred by the light of the screen. It was 2:13 a.m. An unfamiliar number from the next town popped up. I felt my heart skip a beat. "Hello?" I muttered, trying to keep my voice alert. "Are you Robert's wife?" A calm but urgent male voice asked. "He is being held at our police station for disturbing public order. We need a surety tonight." I sat up. "What? Is there a mistake?" "He's working the night shift," I almost shouted. "No, ma'am. He was cited in Windermere for loud talking and continued to be loud after the police arrived. The identification and paperwork match. Please come as soon as possible." I don't remember how I hung up. My head was spinning and my hands and feet were shaking. I looked around. The kids were still fast asleep. The house was dark, except for the ticking of the clock. And reality hit me like a slap in the face. My husband did not work the night shift as he said. I woke the children, confused and embarrassed. My eldest daughter rubbed her eyes and asked, "Mommy, where are we going?" I could only reply vaguely, "Going to pick up Daddy. He had some trouble." We left the house in the bone-chilling cold. I drove with my left hand, and with my right, I held the bottle of milk, shaking it for the baby. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what to fear, his arrest or the real reason for his unnatural absence. When I got there, I had to wait for almost 30 minutes. When the cell door opened, the man walked out and I thought I was seeing things. Not because he had been beaten or anything, but because that face, full of anger, irritation, coldness to the point that I couldn't recognize it. No apologetic hug, no explanation. He just frowned at me. "Why did you bring the kids?" I said, "No need." I was stunned. He turned to the duty officer. "Are you done? Can I go home now?" I couldn't say anything, just silently led the kids to the car. He followed and suddenly snatched the keys from my hand. "Let me drive. You sit back and take care of the kids." I sat in the back seat, holding the youngest who was sleeping, the two older children lying on either side of my shoulders. The smell of milk, the scent of hair, the warmth of the children helped keep me from going crazy. "And you?" All the way, he was silent and pressed the phone continuously. The message scrolled quickly, reflecting the pale blue light on his face. He didn't ask me a question, didn't look at the child once. 4 a.m. back home. I put the kids to bed, covered them with blankets. He was still glued to the screen, scrolling like an addict. I couldn't take it anymore. "I want to know what's going on." "Don't make a big deal out of it now," he replied, his eyes never leaving the phone. "You lied about going to work. You got caught in the middle of the night. You yelled in a residential area 40 kilometers away from home. And you dare say, 'Don't make a big deal out of it'?" He looked up, a look as cold as ice. "If you want to know, I will tell you. A colleague of mine got drunk. I took him home. Then his girlfriend thought we were lying, so we argued. The police came. It was a misunderstanding." I don't believe it. The way he talks, his eyes, his gestures, it is not real at all. But that story, the more you listen to it, the more absurd it becomes. A person like you, who is always afraid of trouble, argued in the middle of the night to the point of being arrested? I stared at his phone. "Who are you texting all this time?" Not relevant. Then show me the message. Are not. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just said slowly, Robert, if you have any respect for me, tell me the truth. I know you're hiding something. And I swear, if you lie again, I won't forgive you. He sighed, put the phone down. Then he looked up, looking at me for the first time since leaving the police station. Okay, you want the truth, right? I swallowed, nodded. You had an affair. Okay? It's been a while. I felt like everything was falling apart. But before I could react, he continued. She thought you were single. She found out yesterday. She went crazy. We had a big fight. The police came. I choked. But it wasn't the confession that left me speechless. It was the way he said it, without a trace of emotion, without a trace of regret. I was planning on leaving you. I was just waiting for a new apartment so we could live closer together. Don't look at me like that. It's already happened. I said nothing. I took his phone. He didn't stop me. Maybe he thought I knew everything. But when I opened the message, I understood. I don't know anything yet. Don't leave me. I only live for you. I won't sleep with her anymore, I swear. If you forgive me, I will leave my wife immediately. I love you. I want to have children with you, not her. I promise to move out next month. You are the only one who makes me feel alive. I stood up and quietly walked out of the room. My steps were light as if I was afraid of waking my sleeping children, but my heart was also heavy as if there were a rock in it. I sat down on the living room floor. One hand covered my mouth to keep from sobbing. My husband never loved me and my children. I just didn't see it, or didn't want to see it. I sat motionless on the cold tile floor, numb with fear. The yellow light from the living room shone down, casting a pale light over my still trembling hands, as if my very soul had just been drained. The text was still there, on his phone. The sweet, pleading, passionate words. Not for me. The man I love, the father of 3 children, is beg another woman for forgiveness, vowed to leave me, promised a new family with her, while I, the one who cleaned up after his night shifts, the one who stayed up all night taking care of his feverish child, the one who neatly folded his underwear in the drawer, was her in my husband's eyes. When I returned to the room, he was still lying on the bed, facing the wall, as if the deed was done, as if the explosion had not been the end of the betrayal. Are you sleeping? I asked, my voice so unfamiliar I didn't even recognize it. Yeah, so tired, he said, as lightly as if talking about the weather. I stood there for a long time. Then I quietly went down to the kitchen. I took out a small cardboard box where I always kept memories, handwritten letters, first movie tickets, ultrasound photos of each child. I opened it. All that I once believed was love, now just ashes in my memory. I burned them piece by piece. The next morning he left the house as usual. Didn't say anything, didn't look at me, just quickly kissed his eldest daughter on the forehead, put his phone in his pocket, and went straight to the car. When the door closed, I thought I would cry. But I didn't. I have nothing left to cry about. My phone rang. A text from him. Working late today. Make sure the kids eat and go to bed early. Cold, smooth, like I was the nanny and he was just the service provider. I didn't text back. I was busy finding myself from within the rubble. At noon, while the 2 little ones were napping, I took out my laptop and logged into our shared email account, the one we used to share school announcements and household bills. It seems you forgot that this account still has my access. In the drafts folder, there is an unsent letter, written 2 weeks ago. Honey, I found an apartment near Lincoln Park, only 10 minutes from your work. I'm signing the contract next week. I'm lying to my wife about going on a business trip. I promise I won't keep you waiting. My child with her. I feel guilty, but I can't live that life anymore. You're my choice. I clenched my fists until they turned white. The pain from my heart shot up to my head and down to my wrist, as if someone had stabbed me straight in the chest. He had a plan, not just an affair, but calculated, organized retreat. Even talking about the future with my lover, discussing children and house. While I was still using every penny to buy milk, pay school fees, pay electricity and water bills. By evening, he still hadn't returned. I called my lawyer, my sister's best friend. I needed to know my rights if we got divorced and needed to prepare a plan to gain custody of all 3 children. Are you sure? She asked. More than 10 years of marriage, 3 kids, assets tied up. It will hurt. It won't be easy. I took a breath. I don't need it easy. I just need to be fair. Late at night, while I was changing the youngest, his phone rang on the table. It was still a text from the same woman. The name displayed was his. I opened it. Are you sure? I don't want to be a troublemaker, but I can't live in secret anymore. I went to the doctor today and he said I can have a baby, if you're ready. I looked at my baby boy in my arms, only 8 months old. I had thought I would have another child, but now my heart was so torn that there was no room for another dream. I don't want revenge. I just want to get out, with dignity intact. He came home at midnight. His face was tired and his breath smelled of alcohol. I didn't wake the child, just stood in front of the door. I know everything, I said. He was silent. I read your drafts. I read Leah's texts. I read about the apartment. I read about the baby you're planning to have when yours doesn't even have teeth yet. He frowned. You shouldn't have gone through my things. I laughed bitterly. Then you should tell Leah to teach me how to be a woman without sneaking around, because I don't know that skill. He was silent. His eyes showed no shame, only the helplessness of someone caught red-handed too soon. I'm getting a divorce, I said. He shook his head. Wait for me to arrange. I'm not ready. No, you have been preparing to leave me for the past half year. As for me, just one night to prepare to leave him forever. I walked to the side, opened the bedroom door, where my 3 children were sleeping peacefully, then closed the door and locked it. That night, I slept next to my youngest child, holding her tightly in my arms. My heart still ached, but inside me, a new light began to shine, another fire. Not the fire of hatred, but the fire of life. There is a strange thing about truth. It never comes alone. It brings with it an army. Memories we once pushed aside, hunches we tried to ignore, small manifestations we once justified as, he must be tired, or I must be too sensitive. I used to believe that the most painful thing was when he confessed that he was cheating. But actually, the most painful thing is when I start looking back on it all and realize he was never honest. For a long time. The next morning, as he left for work, I began gathering the facts. Not for revenge, but to self-defense. I need to know who I'm dealing with. I turned on his phone again. Last night, I had secretly enabled the syncing feature with his iCloud account on mine, without him knowing. Text messages, photos, emails. Each line appeared like a knife cutting into his heart, not because of the love words he sent to Leah, the woman he was trying to build a new life with, but because how you describe me. She's boring, always complaining about the kids. I lost all feelings for her after the second one was born. I live for duty, not for love. I don't sleep in the same bed with her anymore. Don't worry. We've been sleeping in separate rooms since our youngest was born. Each sentence was like a knife cutting into my self-esteem. And the worst part was, it is not entirely wrong. We're not as close as we used to be. The nights I held the baby to sleep, he slept in the living room, saying it was easier to rest. I used to feel guilty. I thought I wasn't a good enough wife. But now I understand. He had begun to withdraw from the family before I even realized it. The message from Leah also revealed something else. She was pregnant, but had a miscarriage a few months ago. You don't need to feel guilty. I know it's stress. It's not your fault. My mother said I was stupid to love a married man, but I trust you. Trust that you won't let me be like her. My heart exploded. While I was struggling with postpartum depression, stress, mild depression, having to hold my baby and worry about every meal, he was going to a prenatal checkup with another woman. I don't know how to describe the feeling. Not anger, not hurt, but total emptiness. Part of me was dead, and the rest was as devastated as the land after a storm. I went to his bank card. On the app, there were a series of recurring transfers to someone named L. Morrison, $1,500 a month, starting 4 months ago. I called the bank, verified. The recipient had the same address as the apartment he was planning to rent, near where Leah worked. I laughed through tears. It turned out the money I had to cut out for my eldest daughter's tuition and the money I had to spend on diapers and milk was used by him to support his lover. He used to say, "This month's salary is being withheld for tax. The company is slow to pay. Must pay in advance to the supplier." All of these are lie systematic, strategic. He didn't just cheat, the division of spiritual and material resources for 2 lives, and I am the one cut off from both. In the afternoon, I asked my best friend Katie to come over and watch the kids. I needed a breather, and more importantly, I wanted to go to that apartment. The building was quite new and luxurious. I pretended to be a food delivery man. The security guard didn't even look closely and just said, "Apartment 5C always has deliveries. Just leave them at the door." Apartment 5C. I stood in front of the mahogany door, holding the sandwich box I had just bought. My heart was pounding in waves, not because I was going to see Leah, but because I about to touch the second part of my husband's life, where I don't exist. On the doorknob, there was a yellow hair tie, the kind I had bought for my daughter. My heart sank. I had no idea how it had gone missing. So, here it was. I didn't ring the bell. I just stood there looking, and then turned away, because I didn't need to see her to know the truth. The truth is enough. When I got home, he still wasn't home. I put my phone on the table and sent him a text message myself. I know everything. Leah, the apartment, the pregnancy, the money, every word you ever said to me, it was a lie. I don't need your explanation. I won't forgive you. Prepare yourself. Less than 10 minutes later, he called. I didn't pick up. For the first time in over 10 years, I ignore the voice of the person who used to be everything to you. And for the first time, I saw calm to the point of fear. I looked at my youngest child sucking his thumb in the crib, my 4-year-old son hugging a pillow and dozing on the floor, and my eldest daughter diligently drawing her mother in the house with a heart. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I do know one thing. They deserve a mother who doesn't bring fear every night, and I deserve the truth, no matter how painful it is. When a person experiences a great enough shock, memories no longer flow like water. They burst like a dam being broken, turbulent, chaotic, and unstoppable. The whole next day, I was like a lifeless body. Not because I was depressed, but because my brain kept turning over every fragment of memory and piecing them together into a completely different picture. Robert and I met when I was 22. He was 4 years older, calm, and seemed more mature than the guys my age. Honestly, I used to feel lucky to have someone like him pursuing me. He wasn't romantic in the roses, candles, and wine kind. He was practical. He showed his affection by fixing my car in the rain, cooking noodles when I was sick, or going to the market to buy the exact orange juice I wanted. I used to think, this is love. When I got pregnant the first time, he was confused but did not deny his responsibility. He proposed with an awkward sentence. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to be in it. With you and the baby. And I agreed, foolishly believing that just wanting to be together was enough. We had a simple wedding. No wedding dress, no banquet hall. Just a registration at the town hall and a small meal with a few relatives. I didn't feel like I was missing anything. Honestly, when I looked into his eyes when he signed, I believed him completely. But then years passed. Love was eroded by the struggle for money, by sleepless nights because of a sick child, by hundreds of times, I'll wash the dishes later, and then never did. I don't blame him. I told myself, if you choose to be a mother and a wife, you must know how to sacrifice. Every time he forgets my birthday or anniversary, I smile and say, I'm just busy. Every time I cried because I was tired, and he just said, go to bed early, I'm so tired, I told myself, men are not good at expressing themselves. Every time he comes home late and says work overtime, I believe him. Looking back now, I see that I wasn't fooled. I fooled myself. I remember one evening last year. I had just given birth to my third child 3 months earlier. My body was still swollen, my breasts were leaking milk, and my hair was all over my pillow. I looked at myself in the mirror and burst into tears. I felt ugly, broken, and invisible. That night I lay close to him, my arms around his waist, wanting to be held. He was startled, pushed me away gently, and said, I'm tired. Tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. That was the last time we were physically intimate. At that time, I just felt sad. But today, when I read the message he promised Leah, to have a child with you, not with her, I understood. He wasn't tired. He just didn't want to touch me anymore. Another time, he lost his phone. I borrowed it to check my messages because I had a message from my child's kindergarten. I found a very short conversation, just, same tonight? And he replied, wait for me in the alley behind, 9 o'clock. I'm putting the kids to sleep. At that time, I quickly brushed it off. Someone must have texted by mistake. I didn't even ask him, didn't doubt it, because I can't believe the man who shares my bed has a completely different life behind my back. Looking back now, each piece fits together brutally perfectly. The times he asked to sleep alone, because of back pain. Business trips, without confirmation emails or any paperwork. On weekends, he goes out early in the morning, saying, I'm going to buy things to build shelves, and then comes back empty-handed. Even the fact that he refused to register a joint bank account because it was complicated, while I was the one paying all the family bills. I used to call it independence. Now I call it by its right name, intentional separation. That afternoon, I cleaned out his wardrobe, the one that once smelled of us, now no trace of me. Where I had placed his shirts in order of color, now he threw them away and folded them. A small drawer at the bottom had an envelope with the bank's name on it. Inside was a new apartment lease, spending plan, shopping list. He wrote clearly, Prepare before August. Welcome Leah to move in early September. I was stunned. The day I gave birth to my youngest child was early August. As I groaned on the delivery table, bleeding with 10 stitches, he is calculating the day he moves in with another woman. No further proof needed. No further explanation needed. I thought I had 12 years of love, marriage, and parenting together. But the truth is, I have 12 years of loving myself. 12 years of living in a dream that I weaved myself. That night, I sat down to write the divorce papers, not to threaten, nor to vent anger. But for the first time in my life, I knew for sure that I needed to leave. Not because of him, but because of I deserve to live. That morning, I made coffee as usual. But for the first time in years, I only made 1 cup. He walked into the kitchen, wearing the same gray shirt I'd bought him for Christmas 3 years ago. Back then, I'd chosen it because I thought it would bring out his eyes. Now, all I saw was a shirt on a cold body. He looked at me a little confused. Maybe because he saw that I didn't ask anything. No checking the schedule, no reminding, don't forget to get your lunchbox, no reminding about paying the tuition for my daughter. I put my coffee down on the table, looked straight at him. I need to talk to you tonight, a serious talk, no delay, no avoidance. He frowned and nodded. After you get off work, I continued. Try to be home on time, because after today, everything will change. All day I prepared. I printed out all the texts, emails, financial documents, leases. I marked down the withdrawals from my savings account. I prepared a USB drive with a copy of the dash cam recording, where he called Leah, kissed her goodbye as he dropped off his son at school. I don't want to cry anymore. I just want to facing, for the first time, all the things I had never dared to ask. 6:15 p.m. He walked in the door, still the same figure, but not familiar anymore. The man I used to love was dead. In front of me was only a man who plays the role of husband, father, but has no soul left in him. I invited him to sit down. In front of him was a stack of papers I had prepared, neat and expressionless. You know I found out everything, right? I began. He nodded, saying nothing. I don't need an apology, because I know if you were truly sorry, you wouldn't have made it this long. He pursed his lips. I don't want to hurt you. When did you say that? Before or after you promised Leah you would have her child? Before or after you took her tuition money to pay for her to go back to college? His face paled slightly, but he still didn't react strongly, and I realized his only fear was losing Leah, not losing his family. What are you going to do? I asked. Leave when the youngest turns 1? Or wait until I find out and then play the victim? I'm not a victim. His voice was low and tired. I know I was wrong, but I raised my hand. No more buts. No more buts. This is the end. I pushed the divorce papers toward him. He stared at it like it was something foreign. You signed. I got everything ready. I'm not asking for money, just custody of all 3 of our kids. I have proof that you illegally withdrew money from our joint account. I have the youngest's medical records showing that I was the primary caregiver. I have your work schedule and proof that you were absent when the fever was at its highest. I have it all. I looked at him, for the first time not as a wife, but as a mother protecting her child from a threat. He said nothing for 15 minutes. His lips were pressed together. Finally, he asked, You're going to forbid me from seeing the child? I smiled faintly. I won't forbid it, but the children need a father, not someone who drops by on the weekend with a toy and an apology ticket. I looked down at the printed papers. Divorce papers, financial affidavit, visitation schedule. You have lived 2 lives. Now choose one." He stood up, picked up his coat, and didn't say a word. I watched him leave, gently, as if he had never existed, not once looking back at the children, not asking what they had eaten today, not looking at me like a companion of 12 years, just walked out of my life like a guest whose stay had just ended. And I don't hold on. There is nothing left to hold on to. The man who once made me laugh until I cried now makes me look at him and feel empty, like looking through the mirror of a passerby. That night, when the 2 little ones were asleep, my eldest daughter came to me. She showed me a drawing, a house with 3 people, her younger brother, and her younger sister. No father. She looked at me and smiled softly. I drew our family. I didn't add Dad, because I thought he was probably in another house. I bit my lip until it bled, but I nodded. Yes, I will have another family, only people who truly love each other. I held my child close to me. For the first time, I don't see myself as a victim, but as a survivor. I used to think that cheating was the worst thing that could happen in a marriage, but I was wrong. Because there are worse things. When the person you live with not only betrays your feelings, but also silently, gradually taking away your autonomy, your security, and your future, while you're busy taking care of your family. After that encounter, Robert did not return home. I guess he was in his rented apartment, where, according to the plan, he and Leah would start a happier life. I don't care. I have more important things to do. Take inventory of every trace you left in my life. I met the lawyer, Ms. Amber, who had been quietly helping me prepare the divorce papers for the past 2 weeks. When I gave her the bank statements, she frowned for a long time. "Something is not right here," she said. "Some money is missing for no good reason, and there is a mortgage in particular that I did not sign." My heart pounded. "What amount?" She pulled out a copy of the house title, the house we were living in both our names. But 3 months ago, Robert had quietly used it. Red Book mortgage for short-term loan to invest in a venture capital fund. Without my consent. I was so shocked that I was speechless. But how did he do it? Without my signature? Amber looked at me silently, then said something that sent a chill down my spine. "He forged my signature." I sat silently for hours in the lawyer's office, leafing through files I didn't know existed. All of them bore my signature, so similar that I thought I had actually signed them. Some documents show that Robert was the financial guarantor for Leah Morrison. She had been denied a student loan, and my great husband came forward to co-borrow. I choked. "So you didn't just take my money. You take my legal name, my trust, my signature, and the reputation I have built up over 12 years to support another woman." Amber looked at me, her eyes gentle but determined. "You have the right to sue for fraud, financial abuse, and if you can prove you were completely unaware, you can void part of the debt." I nodded. "I'll help you." I went home. I had a stack of new documents in my arms. My mind was spinning, not because I was tired, but because I no longer recognized the man I used to live with. That evening, I turned on Robert's computer, an old one he rarely used, but kept in his office. I wanted to back up every document I could. And in there, I found a hidden folder. I don't mean to invade privacy, but after what happened, I understand. Privacy is not for those who trample on trust. In that folder is a bunch of recordings of phone calls between Robert and a man named Marcus, his college friend, currently working in the investment field. I sell virtual tax software. A little bit for everyone. No one will find out. My friend, CEO of a transport company, Needs some light money laundering. I receive it through my company account, then split the money. I can't breathe. Robert is involved in money laundering, or at least complicit. Some of the money that disappeared from family accounts was not sent to Leah, but was instead moved through shell companies to conceal financial activity. And worse, some accounts in my name, like sub-accounts in family banks, had small amounts deducted for intermediary purposes. I accidentally became a link in the money laundering chain. I sank to the floor. My mind was spinning, not with anger anymore, but with fear. Not afraid of Robert, but afraid of the truth. The man who had been lying next to me for more than a decade is someone I do not know. A man can sleep with another woman when his wife is pregnant, can take your child's money to invest in love, can forge wife's signature to mortgage house. It is possible to use the name of a spouse to legitimize illegal activities, and, still possible, hug the child, smile and talk as if never done anything wrong. I clenched my fists. I knew there was no turning back, no more regrets, no more hoping he would change. I have only one thing left to hold on to: protect her 3 children from this man, at all costs. The next day, I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time, not to see if I'm beautiful or haggard, but to face with the eyes of a woman who has just walked through the darkest place of her life and is still standing strong. No more tears, no more wondering, why me? Now I have only one sentence. What should I do to protect my child? I started to act. No fuss, no drama, step by step, as if playing a game of chess where the other person I didn't know I lost from the first move. The first thing is financial security. I went to the bank, froze all joint accounts, and transferred all assets under joint names to marital property dispute. I presented all the evidence of forged signatures, shady money transfers, and illegal use of my account. I filed for an emergency protective order, requiring the bank to report all transactions for the past 3 years, and also preventing Robert from using any more loans in my name. Then, I signed up temporary custody in family court based on the following factors. I am the sole primary caregiver. He has been absent for a long time, with no recent financial support. There is a risk of financial abuse in my name and the children's. My attorney Amber said, if you keep this up for another week, he won't have a chance to counterattack. I didn't laugh. I just nodded. Because now is not the time to celebrate, but the time hold on tight until the storm passes. The next thing is preparation new living infrastructure. I put my sidecar up for sale, Robert's old car, which I had the right to dispose of because it was in my name. With the proceeds, I put down a deposit on a small 2-room apartment near my kids' school. Not spacious, not fancy, but safe enough, clean enough, and comfortable enough start over. My best friend Katie helped me pack. As she packed, she whispered, you know, all these years I've always felt like you were balancing on a tightrope, and no one saw. I laughed, because if I fall, the 3 kids will fall with me. That evening, I sat with my eldest daughter. I knew she understood part of the truth, but she still couldn't name the pain. Will you be sad if one day your father is no longer with you? I asked. The little girl nodded slightly. I'm sad, but I'm sadder when I see you cry every night. I held my breath. He hugged my hand and looked up. I don't need Dad, as long as Mom doesn't disappear. I held my child in my arms, and for the first time, no more guilt about getting divorced because I understand. I am saving my children from a life dominated by lies, irresponsibility, and insecurity. 3 days later, I submitted criminal complaint for forging signatures and using joint accounts for money laundering purposes. The court agreed to open a preliminary investigation file. Robert doesn't know yet. I still let him think I was giving him time to think. That was the only thing I was intentionally dishonest about, because I needed time to perfect my defenses, to prepare every plan in case he counterattacked. I deactivated Facebook, changed my phone number, and installed cameras around my new apartment. Every step I took, now no longer an emotional response, but a survival strategy. I, a nursing mother, once cried in the middle of the night because of that man, now is the only one who controls this battle. On Sunday night, Robert sent his first text in nearly a week. I think we need to talk again, for the baby's sake. You're overreacting. I read, but didn't respond. I kept the message as evidence, the avoidance of responsibility, the lack of remorse, and the way I treated my hurt as a temporary tantrum. I'm not angry anymore. I just feel he lost in the very game he thought he would win. The next day, I officially moved into my new apartment. That night, my mother and I spread out mattresses on the floor, ate pizza, and watched cartoons on our laptop. I turned on the nightlight, sat watching the two children sleeping soundly and the older daughter writing her diary. At that moment, I no longer see myself as the one being abandoned. I am the one who chose to leave, to reclaim truth, self-respect, and a safe childhood for my children. And I swear to myself, I won't let anyone, not even their father, hurt them again. I received a call from Robert while I was folding clothes for my youngest son. I know. What do you want? Money? A house? Or do you want to ruin my reputation? His voice was no longer angry. It was hollow, like someone who had accepted defeat but still wanted to cling to the last shred of control. I was silent for a few seconds, then answered in a voice as light as air. I want. No one calls me her in the messages between you and your lover anymore. The other side was silent. I want my child to grow up without having to live with the lies that are poured into his ears every night before bed. I stopped and took a deep breath. I want to take back the part of my life that I gambled with, only to find out that I bet on someone who didn't deserve it. He laughed, dryly. Then let's meet. One last time. If you want to say it all, let's meet and talk. I agree, not to hold on, but to end it, decisively, without leaving any back doors. We met at a quiet cafe near the town hall, where I would file the final copy of the divorce papers right after the meeting. Robert arrived 20 minutes late. He still had the same look, blue shirt, hands in pockets, cold and proud eyes, as if I was the one who was getting divorced, and he had the right to judge how excessive I was. I never imagined you would go this far, he said, without saying hello. I nodded. I know, because you haven't really listened to me in the past 12 years. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Do you think the children will be better off if their parents divorce? Do you think they will understand why their mother tore the family apart? I looked straight into his eyes, without avoiding. But later, when they are old enough, they will understand that their mother did not teach them how to endure. She taught them how to stand up. He laughed, his voice contemptuous. Do you really think you're a hero? You're not perfect. You controlled everything, nagged, treated me like a money-printing machine. You didn't give me another chance. I calmly pulled out the file from my pocket, copies of all the evidence, text messages, shady transactions, recordings from his computer, forged signatures, bank records, legal documents. I pushed them towards him. You want to talk about who ruined what? Read it. He flipped through a few pages, grimaced, and threw the papers back on the table. His eyes changed, the first time I'd seen it, real confusion. But not because he felt regret, but because I know myself lost. "So what do you want?" he growled. "Can I apologize now?" I laughed, not out of joy but out of pity. "No, Robert, I don't need an apology from you. I need you out of my life and the children's life, legally, emotionally, and morally." He bit his lip, so angry that his hands shook. Leah left me too. I was silent. There was no pity in my heart. There was no desire to hear that news to feel comforted. Because I've passed the stage of measuring people by whether they regret it or not. I don't need recognition. I need deliverance. Before standing up to leave, I said one last sentence. "I have loved you with everything a wife and a mother can. I have forgiven you many times for your laziness, your indifference, your selfishness. But I will not forgive you for betraying the 3 children, the creatures that I have carried and given birth to, and you consider them a burden to escape from." I stand up. They don't need a father on paper. They need a role model. And you don't qualify. I left him, sitting there, amidst the clinking of cups in the bright cafe. I left without looking back. There's nothing left to see. There's no one left to cry for. Only left I, a woman who had just pulled all the thorns out of the soles of her feet and started learning to run, for the first time, without anyone on my back. I used to think that walking out of a toxic marriage would be like opening the door to a storm. But no, the storm was the part I survived. Walking out of it was a different kind of calm. It was so quiet that I realized I hadn't been breathing properly for years. Every morning, I wake up before dawn. No more making coffee for anyone else. No more checking pockets to see if anyone has keys, wallets, or lunch boxes. I just do little things for yourself and for the children. We had a simple breakfast: bread, fruit, yogurt. One day we forgot the milk, and my daughter and I laughed out loud as we had to use water to chew dry bread. Not perfect, but free. No one was angry. No one was in a bad mood. For the first time in over a decade, the kitchen didn't smell like rancor. I'm back working remotely, taking a gig editing content for an education website. At first, I thought I'd forgotten how to use my brain for anything other than diaper milk dinner scheduling. But every line written, every email sent, every online meeting helps me get back the me that I lost to become a wife and a mother. At noon, when the youngest child is sleeping, I write my diary. Today, my son asked me why my dad hasn't called. I said, "Because he's learning to be the man you deserve." The child didn't cry, just nodded. And the mother didn't cry either, because today, I choose peace over regret. I started going to weekly therapy sessions. At first, I didn't feel the need. "I'm fine," I used to say. But then I realized, fine does not mean healed. I learned to forgive, not for Robert, but for myself. Forgive the 22-year-old girl who believed that love was enough to keep someone. Forgive the wife who has blamed herself for being treated coldly. Forgive the mother who thought she had to sacrifice everything to keep a rotting home. I wrote myself a letter. I forgive you, because you loved with all your heart, and now I love you, because you were strong enough to stop. Katie, my best friend who had been with me since the breakup, took me to an outdoor yoga class. At first I thought it was ridiculous. Doing yoga with 3 crying kids at home? Dream on. But one afternoon, as the sunlight fell across the carpet and soft meditation music played, I closed my eyes and felt for the first time my body is no longer tense, as if it is in pain. I no longer live in waiting for a response mode, no longer worrying about him coming home late, about unusual messages, about the sound of cold footsteps. I am breathing. I started a small blog, sharing my journey as a single mother, along with some random diary entries. Unexpectedly, after just a few weeks, I received dozens of messages from women everywhere. There was a woman who was cheated on by her husband and silently endured it for 18 years. Some people were banned from working, losing both their finances and personal identity. Someone just found out that her husband has a second family in another state. I am not special, but by telling my story, I make them no longer feel alone. A sister wrote, "Thanks to you, I had the courage to pack up and carry my child out of hell. Thank you for not keeping quiet. And for the first time in my life, I saw your hurt is not in vain." As for Robert, I don't know how he's faring since the last time we met. I just heard from the lawyer that you have signed divorce papers, no countersuit, no child custody battle, no objection to any terms. I don't wait to hear from you anymore. I don't follow your social media. I don't secretly read your old messages. I don't want to know if you regret it or not, because I stopped needing your regret to prove I was worthy of love. I taped a quote from Maya Angelou to my apartment wall. And still, I rise. No matter what, I still stand up. I taught my daughter how to tie her own hair. I taught my son how to write his name in capital letters. I taught my youngest to say "mommy" without anyone translating. I don't teach my children to hate their father. I only teach them one thing. If someone makes you afraid to be yourself, then they don't deserve to be with you. And that's what I've taught myself. A year after signing the divorce papers, I celebrated my first daughter's 7th birthday. The party was small, with just a few close friends, homemade cake, and balloons I blew up myself. But I had never felt the family atmosphere so clearly, because no one makes us feel small in our own home. My daughter ran up to me in the middle of the party and whispered, "Mom, this year's birthday is more fun than last year's." I hugged my child, smiling slightly. Yes, because this year I'm living for real. I moved out of my old apartment. Now I live in a small rented house near my child's school. It's not big, but it's sunny. The open window is filled with green trees, birdsong, and every morning when I wake up, no more heavy feeling in my chest like it had for years. I started writing a book, a collection of blog posts and testimonials from hundreds of women who messaged me. I called it Choosing Freedom, the Diaries of Women Who Dare to Leave. I don't expect it to be a bestseller, but I do believe that if just one person reads it and decides to walk out of the room that is choking them, then the book has a reason to exist. As for Robert, the man who used to be my husband, we now only communicate when necessary to pick up the kids. Every time I get a text saying, "I'll be there at 4 a.m., I just reply, "Understood." No more, no less, no hate. I don't need you to disappear from the face of the earth. I just need you no longer control my emotions. My daughter once asked, "Does Mom feel sad when she looks at Dad?" I replied, "No, because I have been sad enough. Now I choose to live. I still go to therapy. I still write. I still work. I still cook dinner for my 3 kids. I still get mad when my youngest spills juice on the carpet. I still sigh when I don't finish a deadline at night. I still cry when I see a movie that speaks to me. I am not strong all the time. But now I no longer feel ashamed of being weak. I learned how to don't do things for someone else. Do them for yourself." One autumn afternoon, Katie invited me to go on a picnic with the kids. As the kids ran around the park, I sat on a blanket on the grass, sipping hot tea, listening to the wind blowing through the trees. Suddenly, my heart felt light, a feeling I hadn't felt in years. I'm used to living in survival mode. Now I'm learning how to live again, enjoy every moment of life. No more worrying about who will be home late tonight. No more fear of what's hidden behind your phone screen. No more seeking recognition from undeserving people. I am no longer Robert's wife. I am me, and I deserve all the good things I thought I wasn't good enough for. That night, after putting my baby to bed, I sat down and wrote the last line in my electronic diary. I used to be afraid of being alone. Now I love my own silence. I used to think I couldn't live without a man by my side. Now I see, I live better alone. I used to think I had to keep a marriage for my child. Now I understand. I have to keep freedom, self-esteem, and security to be a mother fully. I shut down. I rewarded myself with a small glass of wine, not to forget, but to commemorate the close of an old chapter. I don't know what the future holds, but I know the next chapter will be by. I write it myself, with the pen of courage and love for myself.